Chelsea managed a 3-3 draw in the last game of the Asia pre-season tour against Johor Darul Ta'zim, henceforth to be known as JDT. And this was one of the weirdest games I've ever seen. Literally, it was so bizarre. But let's have a little look at the winners and losers, I guess. Welcome, Blue Believers, to another episode of the Stamford Sync, where we are syncing up with everything Chelsea FC. And today, that means literally talking about one of the strangest games of football I've ever seen. And to be honest, it was kind of destined to be that way because it was back-to-back, right? We played yesterday and we played today. The last time I saw that happen, God, it must have been about 3 or 4 years ago now, when Liverpool had such a congested schedule fixture that they ended up having back-to-back games, and Jurgen Klopp didn't even appear in the second game. I think it was like League Cup or FA Cup after a Champions League game or something. I can't remember exactly, but it's so unusual to have back-to-back games, albeit it's pre-season, so it makes a little bit more sense. Supposedly it had something to do with we're in similar places in our pre-season and they're getting ready to start and they wanted to bring it forward, and we were just like, yeah, chill, whatever, and we've got 40-odd people in our squad. So, you know, it was always going to be a heavily rotated team, which it was. So let's just talk about it a little bit and get into today's winners and losers of the game. So, first winner today is Liam Delap, because he can score goals sometimes, right? Liam Delap scored 2 penalties today and was robbed of more because there should have been a penalty shootout at the end of the game, but tempers flared and they decided not to go ahead with it, which is another reason that this game was really bizarre. But despite Liam Delap having a pretty poor performance overall, I guess he scored 2 goals. Do you know what I mean? If he scored 2 goals, look, we're looking at it, it's pre-season. This is all practice, essentially, for, you know, the season when it's coming, isn't it? So, look, Delap scored 2 goals in the game, and he also won one of those penalties at the very least. So, Delap gets the first winner. So, the first loser of the game is Liam Delap. Because he was awful today. Oh, man, he's so bad. He's so bad, literally. Apart from winning the penalty was his only open play contribution to the game, really. He just looks awful, man. He's missing sitters. He's just being his general bullyish self. He's just clattering around doing Liam Delap stuff. Honestly, like, man got 90 minutes and was awful for the 90 minutes. Like, honestly, I was watching Jay's live stream on Talking Chelsea, and everyone the rhetoric about Liam Delap in his comment section was jokes, man. It was really funny. But yeah, you know, as much as I think we have to say, yeah, cool, Liam Delap winner because he scored 2 penalties and won one of them, I'm not gonna lie to you, pretty much everything else outside of that in the game, it was just bad. Like, he just doesn't look on it. And we're talking about, I mean, look, context, this is Malaysia's top tier team. They've won the last 12 league titles in a row, and they have a 107 unbeaten streak, right? But it's a Malaysian team. Do you know what I mean? It's a Malaysian team. So yeah, look, Liam Delap just didn't, you know, weirdly got the highest over score rating, obviously because he scored the 2 penalties and won it, but ultimately, like, just really didn't contribute much to the game at all. I think this was a really damning performance for Liam Delap, and I wouldn't be surprised if that is the last time we ever see Liam Delap in a Chelsea shirt. We've got Danny Welbeck here now. Jackson was okay today, and if we keep him, which I still don't think we will, I think he's destined for Aston Villa, to be completely honest. Then, even Dastan Sapayev looks better than Liam Delap. In general, do you know what I mean, with the energy and stuff. Liam Delap just, to me, just looks like a player who knows he's not staying here and he's playing within himself. So yeah, for that reason, Liam Delap is the first winner and the first loser of today's game against JDT. Right, so moving on into the less comedic elements of today's winners and losers, we're going to talk about the next winner, and it's Reggie Watson, right? So look, mate, the lineup was crazy today. So Mamadou Sarr was supposed to start. And he didn't, so Subaloy got on instead. And Aaron Anselmino, unfortunately, we're going to get into him a little bit later, got injured. So Reggie Watson, who's played midfield up until now and generally looks to be more of like a deep line distributor, centre midfielder, CDM kind of thing, he came on and he played at right centre back. And do you know what? He was really, really good. Like, honestly, one of the tidiest, calmest players, calmest looking players on the pitch. Can't believe the kid's 16, man. He's built like a brick house. He's literally like a shed. Absolutely unbelievable. But there was just loads of really good stuff from him. Like I say, he stayed calm, he played well, he defended well, he passed well. I liked what he was doing as well, like kind of getting up a little bit and putting in crosses from the right and big looping crosses from the right hand side. Like, he's a really tidy player. And to say that this was such a weird game in general, he actually was, for me, probably the most interesting player to watch when he came on. I don't suppose we're going to see a huge amount of him throughout the season because he is so young. You can't just be lobbing him into Premier League games, do you know what I mean? But I really do think that there's a good player there. Maybe he could. 16 is I guess you keep him in the academy for another season at least, and maybe he trains with the first team and gets on the bench a couple of times in cup games or something. But in this game, where we put out a very, very heavily rotated 11, but there were some really good first teamers on, do you know what I mean? Like Esteval Williams started, and Nicholas Jackson started, and Jamie Gitton started at left wing back, and do you know what I mean? We saw some kind of some regulars. Reggie Watson, when he came on in place of Aaron Anselmino, in an unfamiliar position, a position that at the very least we haven't seen him play yet. Like maybe he's done that in the academy, I don't know, but I think Reggie Watson came on and had a good performance, kind of. So that neatly brings us on to who I would consider to be the next loser in the game, and unfortunately it's Aaron Anselmino. And I don't mean a loser because he played bad, like I'll get that off the bat now. Aaron Anselmino, quite recently, like I literally put it in a video the other day, man, was like Xabi Alonso was really liking him, and he literally had a chance of sticking around and being one of the rotational options. And it was funny because in that article, it was like Xabi Alonso really likes the look of Aaron Anselmino, but the issue is, can he stay fit for a season? And he pulled up with a hamstring injury, not even after a challenge or anything. Do you know what I mean? It was completely unchallenged. So gutted for Aaron Anselmino. He looked so disappointed, man. He looked so disappointed when he came off, and I think the thing is he spent so long last season injured as well. Like maybe this is a long one for him now, and it might be that we can't even, depending on obviously the length of the injury, the window shuts in a couple of weeks. Do you know what I mean? So no one's going to come and take an injured Aaron Anselmino on loan. So you might actually still end up sticking around. But unfortunately, I guess if you're looking at it from the Chelsea perspective, it's one of those where it's like you're unable to stay fit and you're so early in your career. But ultimately, if they're willing to put the same amount of time and effort into seeing him through it, as we did with the likes of Reece James, as we did with Romeo Lavia, who played yesterday and looked phenomenal, then maybe, do you know what I mean? Maybe there's still a future for Aaron Anselmino. But like I say, really unfortunate for Aaron Anselmino. Like just really, really upset him, and I feel really bad for the guy, because he has played relatively well in pre-season. Xabi Alonso liked the fact that he is a bit physical and he's versatile. Like he played left back for us. He's can play left centre back. He's kind of two-footed, not two-footed. Do you know what I mean? But he can play on either side quite comfortably. And yeah, like I say, not a loser at all in that he performed badly. It's just for him personally, he's got to be absolutely gutted, because this injury is, this is what's defining his career at the moment, unfortunately. And it's always sad to see really young, promising players. We've become very accustomed to it, actually, with the likes of, like I say, Romeo Lavia and Reece James and stuff, young players that look amazing, but just being curtailed by injury. And Anselmino, unfortunately, now seems to be falling into that category. And I'll move on to the last winner of the day. It's Mykhailo Mudryk, right? So Mykhailo Mudryk came on for the last 5 minutes. Like, oh, mate, this whole game was just wild. But Mykhailo Mudryk came on, and his first action in the game was to force an own goal. Fair play. Do you know what I mean? Like I say, it was a moment we're talking about for Mykhailo Mudryk, and it was a moment that, because, two of the goals was Liam Delap and one was, this was the only other goal for us. Mykhailo Mudryk came on, looked quick, took advantage of the situation, put what looked like a really good crossing, and initially it looked like it came off Reggie Watson, and I was like, yeah, Reggie Watson, but it was an own goal. And Reggie Watson was just there. Reggie Watson got in the face of the guy so much, who scored the own goal. And he was like, yes, it was so funny. And look, this game was, mate, I'll get into it a little bit in the honourable mentions / caveats. It's more of a caveat section today. But yeah, like Mudryk, man, like whatever. He came on, he scored. Do you know what I mean? He didn't score, sorry. Like initially I was like, assist. Do you know what I mean? But no, Mykhailo Mudryk came on and he made a goal happen, which nearly took the game to penalties. But unfortunately, JDT said, no, we're not doing penalties because we're all wound up, and evidently they just wanted to keep hold of their winning streak, right? So yeah, look, Mudryk in this absolutely mental game was one of the very few bright moments in it, and he came on, he looked dangerous, he made something happen with his first action in the game, so fair play Mykhailo Mudryk. But he didn't play long enough to be like he had a really good performance. Do you know what I mean? He literally got like 10 minutes, if that. So that's kind of it for the winners and losers, right? Because like I say, this was just such a weird game. But on honourable mention / caveat section, the first thing is something that Xabi Alonso mentioned a little bit, and it's something that we've seen a lot. It's maturity. This was a pre-season game against Johor Darul Ta'zim, which are Malaysia's best team. But, and what it was an opportunity for the young players and the B team guys and people like Nicholas Jackson and Liam Delap who were struggling to put themselves in the shop window or to prove to Xabi Alonso that they've got what it takes. And not only did they not do that, some other players that should be leading by example absolutely failed, and there were so many bust-ups. There were so many flashpoints in this game. There was like 2 or 3 flashpoints in this game. Absolutely wild. It's a pre-season game. What are we doing here? Absolutely wild. This game typified exactly why we need the likes of Jordan Henderson and Danny Welbeck, and maybe an older centre-back to come in as well. Because the oldest player on our side of the pitch was Tosin Adarabioyo, and Tosin Adarabioyo was at the forefront of all of the flashpoints. And I feel like there's 2 ways to look at this, right? The one way is like he's standing up for his guys. Yeah, love that, absolutely love that. But he's gripping people up and stuff, do you know what I mean? It's like, mate, this is a pre-season game, man. And they were playing like it wasn't a pre-season game, and we shouldn't have got sucked into it. Look, if we were going to lose this game, we're going to lose this game, whatever. It's not worth getting sucked into, like, even Liam Delap got a yellow card as well, do you know what I mean? Like, and Tosin Adarabioyo was literally gripping people up. The ref was terrible, by the way. That's another caveat of this game. The ref was bad decisions all over the place. Like, the amount of decisions we should have got that didn't go our way is absolutely crazy. But again, it's a preseason game, so that doesn't really matter, and that's kind of my point, right? Is when you're in a preseason game like this, they're taking it really seriously. Decisions aren't going your way. All right, okay, fine, whatever. It's pre-season. Like, let's just use it as an opportunity to get fit. Use it as an opportunity to show your quality. Don't get involved in gripping people up. And like I say, Tosin Adarabioyo was the oldest player on the pitch. Should have been leading by example and trying to break stuff up, right? If some of the younger guys were getting into it because JDT were coming at us or being aggressive or too aggressive or whatever, yeah, fine. That's when Tosin Adarabioyo steps in and breaks things up, and that's how it should be. But literally, like, Nicholas Jackson had his hand around the back of someone's neck. Tosin Adarabioyo was gripping people up. Like, mate, these aren't even the young players at this point. Do you know what I mean? And for me, if I assume if we had a Danny Welbeck or Jordan Henderson in particular on the pitch in a moment like that, because if that happened in a Premier League game, it's worse. If you can't keep the lid on in a pre-season game, what chance have you got when there's actual jeopardy on the line? Do you know what I mean? It's like, they were playing pretty dirty, man, at the end of the day. Like, there was a lot of pushing. Like, Jamie Gittins got pushed in the face. Someone literally chopped Kenda down like 7-8 times throughout the game. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was ridiculous. It absolutely was ridiculous. But what there wasn't was any calm on the pitch. So we got sucked into their version of the game. For them, they are so someone put it in Jay's comments, actually, and it was a really interesting thing. It's like they're the PSG of Malaysia, essentially. I think the club is owned by the King's son or something. And they are on a 107 invincible streak. 107 not winning necessarily, but they haven't lost for 107 games. They've won the title 12 times in a row. So even though this is pre-season, and even though we look at this squad and we're just like, this is our like C team full of academy players and nearly runs or whatever, they're looking at this being like, this is Chelsea FC, this is a big team. If we prove we can beat them, even if it's pre-season, it means a lot more to them, do you know what I mean, than it does to us. And I think it's disappointing that the likes of Tosin Adarabioyo, the likes of Nicholas Jackson, weren't able to keep the lid on it. Do you know what I mean? And be like, right, try and calm the rest of the guys down, take the sting out of the game a little bit, and not get sucked into it. Because this is literally one of the reasons that we're bringing in the likes of Jordan Henderson and we're bringing in Danny Welbeck. And maybe it's because, look, I think Nicholas Jackson's going to Aston Villa. Tosin Adarabioyo has been linked with a move away as well. Maybe these guys aren't loving playing for Chelsea at the moment. Do you know what I mean? Because maybe they feel like they're on borrowed time. And they kind of know that the reason that they're playing for the most part is because we've just had 2 back-to-back games anyway. Do you know what I mean? And the other thing about that as well, like, to give Nicholas Jackson and Giovanni Kenda their dues, they both played half an hour yesterday as well. Do you know what I mean? So, like, play half an hour of the game yesterday, travel, train or whatever, and then play, however long in today's game. Must have been pretty difficult for them. But I just think that the fact, when we look at the event today, and ultimately it was a pre-season game, I think it's quite damning to see how much we let the event affect us when there's literally no jeopardy involved in it at all. The league season's about to start. We've got a new manager and everything's supposed to be like, everyone should be looking to prove themselves, right? And they will have all been told about maturity and about, keep your head on and whatever. And it's just one of those, isn't it? It's just one of those. So yeah, a little bit disappointing in terms of maturity there, I think. Like I say, just when you juxtapose the event against the players that were getting the most riled up and stuff, like, Like, I don't think it's a good look, man. I don't think it's a good look at all. And that's kind of it, man. I'm going to keep it quite short today because there's not really a huge amount to talk about, to be completely honest. It was a 3-3 game. They scored 3 goals from open play, the first of which they completely cut us open for. Like, it was calamitous defending, and it was such an easy goal. Do you know what I mean? Because they just squared it into an open net, essentially. So, it's just one of those, isn't it? Like, you got to give them their due. Like, JDT played well today, I guess. I don't know if they play like they did today all of the time, because they were super aggressive. They came and played like it was a really massive event today, and we got sucked into that, unfortunately. So, yeah, my winners are Delap, because he scored and has proven that maybe that helps with the shot window. I don't know. If, a promoted team is like, oh, we haven't really got anyone that's that good at penalties, maybe Liam Delap's done something there. I don't know. Reggie Watson, I think, was absolutely phenomenal today, and just, again, he didn't get too sucked into the event. I did love it when he gave it a little bit after the own goal at the end. That was funny. Mikhailo Mudryk came on, made an own goal happen. Do you know what I mean? So fair play to Mikhailo Mudryk. Like, it's not a goal, it's not an assist, but he came on and made an impact, and I think fair play to him for that. My losers today is also Liam Delap, because he was just terrible throughout the entire game, and yeah, I don't know, man. I just think that how are we even going to sell this guy at this point, man? Do you know what I mean? And loser is Anselmino for completely different reasons. Like, I feel so bad for Anselmino, and I'm really, really disappointed for him, as he will be for himself, that it looks like he's going to be going through another injury-ridden season, and he's really going to have to be taken care of. And then, yeah, honourable mention, man, in terms of maturity. Like, I just think, despite having a heavily rotated team, Tosin Adarabioyo and Esugo, who was given the captain's armband, should have done more to keep the lid on all of these flashpoints, or at least, like, walk away from them. We shouldn't be gripping people up, do you know what I mean? It's just silly, isn't it? It's just silly. So, guys, yeah, like I say, pretty short one today. Would be really interested to know what you guys thought about that game. Honestly, it was just one of the weirdest ones I've ever seen. But the nuance, right, is the back-to-back games, end of pre-season, them being on the streak that they're on, JDT being on that crazy streak, and us probably expecting an easier game. Maybe that's part of what it was as well. Maybe our guys went into that kind of expecting, oh, this is probably going to be a little bit easier, and it wasn't, because, they scored 3 goals from open play, and they beat us up. Essentially, they just beat us up. I'm not concerned about it because of the lineup. Do you know what I mean? Other concerns, obviously, like Mamadou Sarr. Yeah, one quick one, actually. Like, where's Mike Penders? What's going on there? Goalkeepers today, Teddy Sharman-Lowe, Slanina, who came on and looked good initially for the first, 15, 20 minutes he was on or whatever, but then started conceding the goals. Probably good it didn't go to penalties, in that fact. Like, that's a weird thing as well, isn't it, man? Like, it was supposed to go to penalties, and it didn't. It just didn't. They announced it at the end. It was so strange. But yeah, let me know what you think about my winners and losers. Let me know what you think about it as well. Like I say, this is absolutely not one to lose our heads about at all, because, like I say, that is not a Premier League lineup we're looking at there, is it? We're just genuinely, and what it will have done is highlighted some of the key issues about the maturity and certain playing stuff, I think, to Xabi Alonso, and we might start to see soon, like the likes of Tosin, for instance. Maybe he's gone before the Real Sociedad game next week, do you know what I mean? So I'm expecting a big week in terms of transfers out and transfers in before the Sociedad game, but keep it locked, guys, because I will be back for another episode of Winners and Losers then. Thanks very much for sticking around until the end of the video if you did, and I'll catch up with you all very, very soon. Take it easy. Peace.